AI can train itself not to make the same mistake again. We need to change how we have colleges, what we teach, how we train our next generation for their future.
We need to learn how to start making things with our hands again. We need to learn electrical, we need to learn plumbing, we need to learn trades, we need to learn skills that this thing can't do yet.
I still believe in not using the calculator, and it's mainly because to learn that process, to learn how to do it correctly.
I would say in the 40s and 50s, we were quick and agile and one of the best in the world, probably maybe even rolling into the 70s. But if you look at our education system the last 50 years, it's slow and declining. And so how can we pick up on things like that? Welcome to episode 6 of The Next Move. I'm your co-host, Keegan.
Sandeep.
And roll. So guys, our title for today is From Burgers to Brainwaves, the hidden cost of AI.
Ooh, okay.
So our first topic is obviously the cost of AI and the energy convergence. So here's our first video.
Well, you touched on a great point with energy. I think it's hard to overstate how important energy is to the future here. Eventually, chips, network gear, that will be made by robots, and we'll make that very efficient, and we'll make that cheaper and cheaper. But an electron is an electron. Eventually, the cost of intelligence, the cost of AI will converge to the cost of energy, and if it'll be how much you can have, the abundance of it will be limited by the abundance of energy. So, in terms of long-term strategic investments for the U.S. to make, I can't think of anything more important than energy. Chips and all the other infrastructure also, but energy is where I think this ends up.
Okay. Well, all I can think of is we always used to talk about water as the next gold, right? Mm-hmm. Well, is now energy going to be the next gold? Whoever dominates the energy sector?
Yeah, I think a couple of episodes back we talked about how I guess it was proposed or it's in process that individual big data center owners, Amazon and so on, Googles of the world, they're requesting to have their own energy generating with using a nuclear fuel. So maybe that's the new way to recycle all the nuclear stuff we have.
Well, I was just going to say, does anybody know what's in the recent bill? Is there any nuclear in there?
I don't even
that they're
Congress
trying to push through.
I don't even know if they have read it. I don't know about us.
Well, I pulled up on we call it ChatGPT, and I love this setup. Thank you, Ace. So, like Google, for example, is partnering with what's that plant called? Carlson Power to develop
Carrios.
Yeah, Carrios Power to develop a small modular reactor.
It's funny because that Meta there that we're talking about, and I saw that the Constellation Energy. I saw that they're doing some agreement because Meta's going to be doing their own power supply on their property for their AI and other things for their buildings.
So one of the things like in the environmental side, because these servers and so on, because that's where the energy is going, basically cooling them down, running them, cooling them. And I think we shared a video where there was they had this server that was dipped in the water. Is that going to be maybe another next way of using, reducing the use of energy with, dipping, maybe have servers and so on in the ocean? But again, salt water, this and that.
Yeah.
I don't know how that will come across. So I think we gotta, evolve in those things, and I think it'll take time. But here's the thing: when there was a challenge, we all just we basically come to take on that challenge, and I think that's probably gonna be our next course. And there's your investment
I was gonna say, so how do you get all this energy, right? We already have infrastructure issues with powering EVs, right? That's the big thing everyone keeps talking about. Now with powering, you know, AI and all this other stuff, it looks like there's a lot of infrastructure, especially here in the U.S., that needs to be updated from roads to now AI to all these different topics.
Oh, yeah, or there could be a way that, you know, updating infrastructure in a way in a pockets. So let's say if there's wherever these servers or wherever they're located, you know, isolate that area to a energy source that's been generated locally there. That way, the mass majority of energy that being distributed across nation for, let's say, public, for residential or, you know, non-commercial, that can be isolated from that, you know, sources. But yeah,
So what you're alluding to is the individual company should have their own power source instead of using the grid.
yeah, I would, yes, government can assist in the regulatory and as long as it's done safely, but I would just leave that to a private sector to generate their own energy.
Well, and that's what you saw Meta was working on. And like I said, I read that last week. And you have all these other big companies that are looking to, okay, how can we bring in solar panels to help with energy? You know, what are some other options that these companies are going to have?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is going to be kind of the next big thing, and it's happening in the UK, is that they're creating their own. I'm going to use a very small example. So Tesla has one of those, you know, battery pack for your house, right?
Yep.
And-
the Powerwall.
yeah, the
Powerwall.
Powerwall.
And I've said that for years, actually, that's the best product Tesla makes is the Powerwall.
Really, I actually haven't looked into it, so I think I may look into it.
Yeah, so for them, the way they have it designed is that, you know, they have the solar energy for your roof or wherever you want to get your solar energy. So it generates, you know, stores energy that way or from the grid. And they try to time it to where it gets it from the grid from the lowest peaks.
Yep.
So now there's going to be, don't be surprised you start seeing this, where you have a set of companies that have that same setup but for their facility. And they have stored energy and they do it that way. That way they're not dependent on the grid. But it's not, I don't think it's because the grid is, I should put this, we need more of it. Like China's ramping up with more power plants. We're not really doing that right now. I know that the administration's trying to get that going.
Yeah, and I just saw something too. Again, I think this within the last week or so that the number of coal plants that China and India made last year was, you know, a couple hundred in each country. Whereas we're pulling that production back. Is that going to hurt us now when we start looking at things like this, where these countries will have the options and ability to ramp up power, where we may not have it because of certain regulations or different energy supplies?
So I think you know, like you mentioned, those countries, they're gonna start, you know, or they already started generating energy, and like the importance of energy that was mentioned in that clip. I think we have to pivot as well, and I think there's a lot of wastage in energy as well. So if we get our systems to be efficient, and you know, we can save, because probably I don't know the numbers, but the energy we generate in the U.S. is probably like what they generate in all over the Europe. You know what I mean?
Probably,
as a generation wise, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, we need to make sure we are, you know, basically transmitting that, and however we.
Only way I see this happening is nuclear.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the only way. And you already are seeing rolling blackouts in California.
Oh yeah, it's been for years.
Yeah, and so how do you overcome that on top of now
And with all these
more and
EVs,
more?
that's getting on the, you know, like I just had a chat with somebody in Seattle, and they saying, like, you know, they're seeing significant increase in EVs, and they have to get in line to get charged.
Yeah.
I mean, there's and pretty soon Seattle had to figure out how they're gonna supply all that energy to charge their EVs.
Well, now, and you think too, when are going to people be charging their vehicle, right? If it's not just at home in the evening, you get some of these peak times then when they're pulling from, say 3 o'clock to 7 p.m. That's peak hours where everyone else is also running power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point, at least on that side of the country, I don't know for sure, but I've heard stories where the power plants over there are not up to par yet to be able to handle what they're pushing for, which is 100% EV or 100% electric.
Yeah, so
Well, in the
I
next
think
10 years, right? 2035.
Yeah,
or
I think
something.
this legislations and of the other governments of those states and counties and so on, they really need to work with private sector. I think they work hand in hand, how they can find a synergy to generate these powers and I get the whole we want to keep the environment safe, but I think we just need to find a synergy there as well, how to move forward.
Well, the whole point of the reason why they're pushing for this energy is not just for energy purposes. It's actually because of the AI.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the AI it draws so much energy, and it kind of brings up our next topic about the AI of the future, the strategic future.
We believe, as an industry, that in the next 1 year, the vast majority of programmers will be replaced by AI programmers. We also believe that within 1 year, you will have graduate level mathematicians that are at the tippy top of graduate math programs.
Yeah.
So that's 1 year, okay? What happens in 2 years? Well, I've just told you about reasoning, and I've told you about programming, and I've told you about math. Programming plus math are the basis of sort of our whole digital world. So the evidence and the claims from the research groups in OpenAI and Anthropic and so forth is that they're now somewhere around 10 or 20% of the code that they're developing in their research programs is being generated by the computer. That's called recursive self-improvement is the technical term. So what happens when this thing starts to scale? Well, a lot. One way to say this is that within 3 to 5 years, we'll have what is called general intelligence, AGI, which can be defined as a system that is as smart as the smartest mathematician, physicist, artist, writer, thinker, politician. I call this, by the way, the San Francisco consensus, because everyone who believes this is in San Francisco. It may be the water. What happens when every single one of us has the equivalent of the smartest human on every problem in our pocket? But the reason I want to make the point here is that in the next year or two, this foundation is being locked in, and we're not going to stop it. It gets much more interesting after that. Because remember, the computers are now doing self-improvement.
No way.
They're learning how to plan, and they don't have to listen to us anymore. We call that superintelligence, or ASI, artificial superintelligence. And this is the theory that there will be computers that are smarter than the sum of humans. The San Francisco consensus is this occurs within 6 years, just based on scaling. This path is not understood in our society. There's no language for what happens with the arrival of this. That's why it's underhyped. People do not understand what happens when you have intelligence at this level, which is largely free.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So remember we talked about this when they said AGI gonna be your companion,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's more than a companion.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, that it's more than companion. It's like your identical twin that's actually doesn't sleep, doesn't rest, doesn't, so it's a super identical twin.
Well, that's part of it, but I think it goes more in depth into what we were talking about before, as in, the part I guess it kind of caught me off guard is that when he's talking about the AGI side of it, this is becoming a super intelligent. So imagine having somebody that you can go to that's like the smartest person in the world every day, any time of the day, ask it a question that gives you the best answer possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way I haven't looked at it yet.
So what was that movie, Iron Man with Jarvis?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has an in-house his smart system,
Yep.
and so yeah. So this is yeah. So like he said, like programmers and so on. Something that's and the that AI can train itself not to make the same mistake again.
Well, and I think that's just AGI, right? What he's
Well-
even talking about is ASI,
Yeah.
which
ASI.
is even more. It's basically taking all those components, right, and putting that into one bot or program. What is that going to do and change from our day-to-day activities? I mean, he's talking in 6 years, so but call it 2032.
Yeah.
Is that changing how many jobs and skill sets? I mean, doctors now are already using Chat GPT for answers, and
Oh, everybody is.
it's- Yeah.
Everybody
I mean,
is. Not just doctors.
Yeah. I don't know about the answers, but definitely keeping notes, keeping track of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
maybe-
just learning what's the newest case or newest any they can compare to. So I think we need to change how we have colleges, what we teach, how we train our next generation for their future. I think that's gonna need to change. And
Well, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. So when you say that, when you say change to, do you mean change for that type of future, meaning the AGI side of it, or really understanding the basics and how things?
exactly. Learning how. So like you said, learning the basics of it, where they're not just learning how to code, how to write this code, is learning how to plan to write that code, right? And how to basically how to be leaders, how to be managers. I think that's what they need to learn, because
and I kind of look at it as a different way of, we need to learn how to start making things with our hands again. We need to learn electrical. We need to learn plumbing. We need to learn trades. We need to learn skills that
oh yeah.
this thing
Tho-
can't do yet as well
Oh
in
yeah,
school.
that's gonna be
Shoot,
well,
even growing our own vegetables, growing
farming.
I just think of different classes that I took back, in high school, and you think, okay, any trades, welding, home ec classes.
I think we need to learn how to basically. So even certain things, right? They having automation and the robotic do that, right? So I think there's a certain skill set, like you said, like the repairs and plumbing and so on. Those are a skill set that's still gonna be there, but it's so, I don't know how to put this, but I think it's probably what we're doing is we're right now thinking like, hey, programming this, and some things we thought like you have to have a degree for. I think that's gonna go away.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think we just need to learn how to pivot, how to basically work with AGI, work with ASI, how to utilize those tools, how to, basically instead of saying, okay, I need, so basically, okay, prime example is calculators. When there was no calculators, we did everything, we did calculations on paper, and, we weren't allowed to use calculators in school, right? And then, because they're like, what if there's no calculator? How you gonna do this? That was a thing that teacher thrown at us every time we try to use a calculator, right?
Yeah.
But after that, now they promote using a calculator in class, because those are there.
Or are they going to promote using these AGI
I hate to
systems?
play devil's advocate on that subject, but I still believe in not using the calculator, and is mainly because to learn that process, to learn how to do it correctly. And I'm going to kind of compare it to sports. So I like watching, I think it's called Open Court for the NBA side of it. And guys would talk about the time, what made Michael Jordan great. and they'll talk about him, and they'll be like, it's not because he could jump, the best, not because he could shoot the best, not because he could dunk the best. It was because he had the most, like, all the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals of basketball. He could do it exceptional, perfectly. He took the right step when he dribbled. When he shot, he had his hands in the correct spot on the ball. He was perfect on all the fundamentals. And that, to me, going back to the education side of it, that's, to me, is so vital and so important. I don't know if we really emphasize on that in schools. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we need to change our books that we are teaching in. That's where I'm trying to get to, is like we need to change the books that we are teaching our kids in school right now. And those big books, we need to review the courses. We need to review the whole how we're doing things, because if you really want them to succeed in the future, they need to pivot. The whole school system, education, and they need to pivot. They need to basically get with the program. And some of them are getting with the program. Some of them are already using.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing like Raul does all the time, right? With first robotics and getting
Yeah,
the kids involved.
some
and
are.
automation,
and
robotics.
at one point, those first robotics, they were considered hobbies.
Yeah, they were.
No, they were considered, like, just a few years back. It was considered, like, this is kind of like that. What do you do? For a side hobby, I do, we play with robots. But now I think that is the education that we need to provide to kids.
Yeah. And that's why
It's more important now than ever.
Yeah, that's why, I think STEM's picking up steam right now, because people are seeing that this is the direction we need to go. This is a great way for kids to get inserted into the, I guess you say, the electrical side of it, the robotic side of it is through that program.
And just to another note, just this past couple of days, I had an experience with one of the clients we were at. So in a robotic world, in a autonomous robot world, SLAM is a language, is basically used to program the path and so on the robots. And the controls gentleman there, just as an extra hobby, not at the facility, he learned how to do SLAM and other programmings, and which made it easier for us when we went to showcase our product, and because he was learning it, and so he was a younger generation, and so people are doing that, but I think that need to be mainstreamed instead of kind of being on the sidelines.
Yep. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to go on to the Tucker Carlson deployment of energy. This is kind of an interesting interview he did. There's a little clip of it.
So the bottom line is everybody's about to get a lot poorer. Not everybody, but the majority is about to get a lot poorer. What do you do about energy? What do you do about energy?
Well, one of the things you could do about energy is depopulate.
Right. And I know for a fact, I'm not guessing at this, that there are people running countries around the world who've thought about, like, what does AI mean for my population? It means I've got too many people. So this is something, I know this for a fact, I'm not guessing, that leaders of countries are talking about between each other. Like, I know that.
Yeah, that's kind of scary to think about.
Hell yeah, a lot scarier. And how easily that person said that, depopulate, right?
Yeah. Well, and you look across too, I think, I keep going back to this, but I just read last week, Japan's population declining another 5%. I think the U.S. we're in a population decline as well right now. There's
I think
almost
all developed countries are.
Right. So you're seeing that everywhere now. Is that going to be rushed into faster because of AI and different, people potentially losing jobs or not interested in?
So out of curiosity, why did she say that, as in the depopulation of people because of AI? Because you don't need as many people?
Yeah, so you have, in my thinking, what I'm getting out of it is you have these people who are for 50, 60 years, we keep on telling like, hey, go to school, study, and you'll get a better job, and you can live good if you have studied, and you got degree and so on. So they did that.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately, right now, this generation has come out of college. I don't, and I'm seeing this a lot online. They're not getting jobs in their fields,
Yeah.
and they're just going with what's there, what's available.
Still server, bartender, waitress.
Yeah, and they got a college degree.
They've got college degrees and a lot of
So
debt.
that's where is when majority population, they don't get what is promised to them or what dreams that they were shown, they revolt. I mean, that's what that is. And if that happens,
But like we talked about, there's only so much energy right now we can produce, right? And
Yeah.
so that's going to trickle down and affect different places around our country and around the world. Then is you're going to have these superpowers that are going to have these consolidation of power, I guess, whether that's AI power, electrical power, and things of that nature. And then you're going to have other countries that the poorer countries aren't going to be able to probably survive some of that, right?
yeah.
That's kind of what
It's
I
just-
took from that.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically saying go back to the Stone Age,
Could there be places that happens to? I mean, I could definitely see that happening. We're going to lift some places out of poverty potentially, but where the power is and whoever can manufacture and hold this power and hold AI, they're going to be
Well,
king, right?
Yeah, they'll be king. So, but it doesn't. How should I put this? As long as you have an internet connection, you can get to an AI tool. So that's really more of the key.
So-
now, as in who I guess you should host that.
Controls the AI.
Yeah, that's a different
Yeah.
story. But any country can get to the AI, and
Yeah.
now they're
Potentially, for now.
yeah
Right,
for now.
You could have places just like your social media. Places get locked out of different countries and can't
Yeah.
use in certain areas.
So I think right now everybody's racing to get AI, ASI, AGI, but I think soon they may just pull the handbrakes on them, and certain countries start maybe walking backwards, and say, okay, you will use the AI, but only for this purpose only.
Well, and we're always talking about more or less good things that happen with AI, right? We
That's what I'm
haven't
saying.
really discussed, like, okay, what if a military power gets in control of it and wants to do harm?
Well,
Yep.
that's part of it, and then alluding to your point, I guess you say somewhat playing devil advocate here, is that, well, if I know this plant over here is, keeping this AI on, that's
Yeah.
how I get rid of it.
Yep.
And, I'm pretty sure that's been talked about.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so-
strategic points of, placing and hiding things and
So there was another little conference thing we went to this. I went to this last week. We talked about it, and the one good thing I came out of, I stopped at one of the college booths over there or university booths, and I started talking to the generation that was they were working on this one system, and the system basically was how to find out if the device that's on your system is actually the device that's the data that you're getting is real. So if there's a hardware, how you know is real is that data, how you identify that. How is not somebody's just manipulating and just being on your system and showing this is the device. So they came out with the system there. So things like that, right? That's basically when I talk to them, I'm like, you guys are like, that's cybersecurity, and the more AI we get into, we more of those devices and those
that was
things
kind
we're
of the
gonna
issue
need.
with DeepSeek, wasn't it? Whereas
Yeah.
they were saying, hey, we're not really collecting your data, but then on the back end, people thought they were.
Well,
Right.
Yeah.
I think Sandeep's point is a little bit different, as in, are we getting the right data?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, a VPN, for example. If you don't, obviously a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of commercials you see on TV talk about, hey, you don't want people to know what you're looking at. You want people tracking you. Uses VPN. So basically, they'll still get the data, but they'll get some scrappy data.
Right.
Some,
Right.
and what you're alluding to is that they're trying to ensure that am I communicating to the right device?
Yeah. So
How do I
So in the
that?
factory, they got 20, let's say right now, like, one of the facilities we went to, they probably had 50, 60 robots there.
Yep.
It was a small facility. And so if they have 60 robots and let's say they were producing something and this one hacker gets in there and they have this central system, let's say, and the central system is communicating with all those robots, basically tracking their PMs and everything. And somebody basically hacks into it and takes one of the 50th robot out and put their own in, and just to, I don't know, just to find out what they're making, what they're doing, just to hack. But these guys they did a device where they basically tracked, because each system was the way they were describing it, that each system has, when they're taking the current or the flow of current, they're taking it from the system, has its own trace. So not two devices will have exact same flow or of the electricity through them. So,
so you're saying something like kind of like they get it from two different spots.
yeah,
To ensure that it's the same. It's not something that.
something in that line, not to be
Yeah.
exact, something in that line.
Well-
And they basically that way. Sorry, they built the they identify the each hardware with that. They build the algorithm to identify that. So they identify the each hardware with that using that method.
Yep. Well, I'm going to give a simplistic term of it. What you're describing is.
Yeah,
so
I would
for
try to put it in a
example,
simpler way.
Yeah.
but-
So for example, CNCs, they always have a dual encoder, they call it. So that way because everything has to be so precise in that type of application. So they always have an encoder like on the motor and an encoder on the slide, and they make sure it's in the same position the whole time. If either one is off by a millimeter, it shuts itself down.
Right.
And so that's kind of what you're alluding to, is that I'm ensuring that I'm firing for two different spots. I'm making sure they're the same. If I get discrepancy just a millimeter, boom, I kill it. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, so basically, the whole CNC machine, that CNC machine being on the system, like a central system,
Yep.
and they can track that is that the CNC machine is on their system. So it's basically it was a one way of providing a cybersecurity to bigger facilities where they have a multiple hardware they're running. So I think that's a good line to get in. Even with AI, AGI, whatever, yeah, they can use the AGI to build that program, but that's a good line to get in because they're building hardware and software.
Yep.
So it's this whole depopulating. Yeah, I don't know about that, but there's, I get the whole energy part. I think we just need to figure out, not get stuck with just solar panels and windmills.
Yeah.
We need to get out that rut, and we just need to figure out how we can create more energy. And because depopulating, it's easily said, but what are we gonna have our Earth of robots eventually, or what?
Yeah. Well, alluding to your point, getting back, we're going to drop this topic, but get into the education portion of our conversation. So this is an example right here of a young lady in China. This is what they're teaching in their school. So we'll take a quick look at this.
25 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So this is it, you know, just pivot. We just need to pivot.
That's one thing the U.S. is over history here the last several decades we're slow at, right? I would say in the 40s and 50s we were quick and agile and one of the best in the world, probably even maybe even rolling into the 70s. But if you look at our education system the last 50 years, it's slow and declining. And so how can we pick up on things like that?
So are we, so kind of alluding to your point, are we overestimating like on test scores and, you know, and underestimating creativity when comparing systems? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
The whole thing need to change. You know, like I'll give you an example. The current, again, you know, like the current, our food administrator, Kennedy, is it?
Yeah. I think it's
Robert Kennedy.
Robert Kennedy,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
You know, he I don't know how is it going to materialize or not, but he said in one of the things where hearings or whatever that, you know, they want to rip that 400-page food guideline to 40. That's what we need to do in starting, and we need to do in everything. We need to change it up. We cannot keep on doing the same thing and expect different results.
Yeah, it hasn't worked the last 50 years. And now with the rapid improvements of different intelligence.
And what this did was, like, you know, again, you know, we kind of touched on these topics way back, like when we started these shows, is that how this AI and all this is basically equalizing the globally, you know, is becoming an equalizer. Guy is sitting in a freaking in a hut in somewhere in India or Thailand, and who may not have, don't know where his food gonna come from, but he has a smartphone that, you know, he can order a tablet or something wherever he got it from. It may not be the current processor.
Yeah.
He can build something that he can compete against some of the best software companies, because he just created that 2-line code. So it's becoming an equalizer, and I think we need to, the sooner we realize it, sooner we basically take that seriously, because right now I don't think we are taking it seriously.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we are still talking about, you know, we're too consumed with other things right now that we're not taking this seriously. We need to, if you're gonna think about next 50, 80, 90, 100 years, we need to figure out how to be ahead of this. And you know, sometimes they say is,
You know, how should I put this? I remember back when I was in high school, and this was years ago, they developed something called the Skill Center. I don't know how much they expanded on it since I was there, but you know, I got to learn AC, DC, you know, basic electronics, digital electronics at that time. And when I got into college and I started taking the engineering courses, the 300 levels, you know, electrical engineering, the first like 2 or 3 classes, 200 or 300 level classes were easy for me because I did it back in high school. And the only ones, it was kind of funny to me because nobody else there had that same education, at least the American sides. But Saginaw Valley at the time had some type of buddy system with a school in Toronto, Canada. And those kids got to learn skill sets from Toronto. I think they had something similar to like a skill set center. And like one of the guys, and this is back, you know, about 2005, 2006, you know, they were making stuff like, you know, each vent in your house would be able to open and close.
Yeah, automatically. Yeah.
Just based
more
on the
efficient?
temperature. No, based on the temperature in that room.
yeah, be more efficient.
And so this one hit 80, cut that off, or I don't know, 70 degrees, whatever.
Yeah.
And then cut this one off, But your furnace will still be on, but it cuts it off the bat.
So it directs it to other room, and the other room gets cooler or hotter quicker.
Yeah, but they never really taught that, at least when I was in high school. I mean, I felt they were a little bit ahead of us.
So I think so it's, you know, things come out of necessity, right? So let's say like generating, the U.S. always been known for having everything in abundance, right? We're like big, got big trucks, big energy, big everything, big highways, but I think it's time where instead of quantity, we start need to talk about quality. We need to whatever
back
we
to
have,
that.
how efficiency is the key now, because we need to save energy, we need to generate more energy, how we transport that energy. I think that is like every sector, public or government, they need to figure out how to do that, and we need to build a culture how to use energy efficiently. So I think that culture is lacking here, and I mean I wouldn't say that's anybody's fault per se, but it's just that's how we lived, right?
Yeah.
And I think going forward, I don't think that's going to be a choice.
Well, to get, I guess you say, to get us started, obviously we're seeing kind of advancements, like, for example, China there in that video. Should we be kind of emulating what they're doing as for a starting point?
Well, I'm sure some schools and programs are, right? There are certain systems and education programs that are better than others, and schools that are doing some of this stuff, and other schools that aren't. And the ones that aren't are going to get left behind real fast. But it's how do you promote that then nationally to get more people involved? Like I've always said, trades, this kind of stuff.
We need to bring the shop back.
Yeah, definitely.
We need to bring the wood shop, mechanical shop. We need to bring all those shops back to the school.
Yeah.
So they cut them out?
A lot of them did.
A lot of them, yeah.
Really?
I haven't seen much around. My daughter, she's taking this home ec thing at school. I'm lucky that they have that.
Yeah.
And she's learned how to bake and know the ingredients and their importance and
Following the
and
directions.
the healthy side of it and all that. So yeah, we need to bring that back.
I'm so surprised they took it out of the education
Well,
system.
it's not necessarily that. It's a lot of it got cut, right?
Yes,
So a lot of things
because that was
get
the first
cut.
thing they cut when they cut any funding
Funding.
is shops.
Yeah.
And there's no after-school programs. There's like, I get the whole, everything else, but I think that is way more important now than ever.
And again, you got to remember from the last, like I keep mentioning, the last 50 years, everyone's been pushed to go to college, go get a degree.
Yeah,
and
those guys did that.
That's the way you're going to go.
And people did that.
And now, moving in the future,
only thing
it's
they
going
have
to be,
to-
I think you're going to start seeing people get that push back, hopefully, to, hey, go in the trades, go in, these different avenues that were once considered, bad jobs. They're going to be the ones that are paying well because, why would I hire a systems administrator when I can have an AI bot, talk to the clients and send emails for me and direct phone calls and do all that?
So here's the thing. We're, instead of, say, eliminating the assistant, right? So we just need to have where there were 10 people in a scene assisting. There's one person or two person, but now they are at the level they have. They learn that system. They learn AGI, ASI, and so on. So they're creating things. But they're creating it to help them. So they're creating as much resources they need around them. They're creating those resources. That's where it's gonna go, and that's where when we seen places like when these Meta and all that, they had the reason they're letting these thousands of people go is the same reason, is because before they need to push this code out. Everybody had the responsibility. Who's working on state machine? Who's working on and other parts of the code,
But even finance, accounting, all that stuff,
everything.
it's going to get
everything.
reduced.
And
time.
And the biggest hit, I haven't seen it yet. The biggest hit gonna be in research.
Yeah, I can. Well, yeah.
Oh
you're
yeah,
right.
research.
R&D and
Yeah.
No, the research. So people who are researching on some medical anomalies and
they'll
and this and
run
that.
simulations, millions of simulations in seconds.
Yeah.
Because now person with a
Assuming
minimal
it's used for
knowledge.
good.
Huh?
Yeah.
Again,
Assuming they're
assuming
getting
it's
good
used for
information,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's used for good. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is a lot of those things are gonna get cut, but that doesn't mean it's all doom and
Bad.
gloomy. But that means is we're humans. We pivoted from caves to when we got the cars to planes to we pivoted so many times, and
We're
it
pivoting
just
towards robots right now. So,
and
yeah.
robots, and we just need to change direction and change personal directions. What our goals
And
are.
then hopefully to Mars, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, almost have to. I mean, the other the way everything is, and that's going to because human nature is trying to find that next thing that they can do different from the guy sitting next to them, and so yeah, they probably try to get to Mars and set up a shop there, but nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying if you can afford it, you can do it. Go for it.
Yep. So, well, guys, speaking about that, the AI side of it, now the next topic is we're using AI the wrong way. So here we
This
go.
is always my concern.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's the bigger concern.
An herbal supplement did not cure my cancer. I'm not even real.
Uncle Fred, the government has not been taken over by lizard people.
You don't need to send us
Uncle Fred.
$5,000 in gift cards because you missed jury duty.
Grandma, it's not real. It's AI.
It's AI. It's AI.
Bro, it's AI.
Fake faces.
Real consequences.
Think before you trust.
Now, the people that are the most susceptible to falling for these scams that are going to be coming down the pipe here, coming down the road, are going to be people that did not grow up with this stuff, like boomers and elderly people. So if you want to make sure that your grandma keeps getting her Social Security or keeps getting her retirement check, please show them this video and let them know not to trust everything that they see online, because you're the only person who's going to be able to help them and remind them ahead of time before they fall for any of these new dirty tricks that are coming down the road. Because I'm telling you right now, people are going to use this stuff to exploit other people, and they're going to try to exploit people who don't know any better. So do yourself a favor and tell everybody you know about this stuff, especially people that are elderly or boomers, because those are the people that are more likely to fall for this stuff.
There was a guy on 94. He was looking hitchhike, looked like him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it looked like alien. Or maybe he dressed like one.
Well, and that's a big one, right? They're scamming and getting.
Scam is on the highest peak right now, because when any change that happens, any disaster that happens, anything that scammers are like, that's when they come out and they take advantage of it. So same with as this AI things are being used, and that's why we've been touching on these points for a while, that we need ethics, we need ethic organizations.
And yeah, but how do you stop it? Once
You can't.
You're
but,
never going to
but
be able to stop
you
that.
you can regulate some of it. Maybe I don't know. Not regulate. Maybe some.
Not when everyone's going to have the ability to make whatever they want in a split second
And
on their
then
phone.
hide yourself from where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
So this is obviously misuse of it, and the catch is like what you were saying with a gentleman living in a different country, maybe limited on technology, just because he has an internet connection, can create something like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to get $1,000 or $2,000 out of it.
Yeah.
Because somebody thinks.
With that grand, he buys an Apple, and then now he's a bigger scammer. So I'm just saying, it's like the business is thriving for scammers. So
Well, and just think the mass phone calls you can make, the mass emails you can make, and all you got to do is click on one thing accidentally one time, and now they're scraping all the stuff and information off your phone or computer, and getting your passwords, and with AI, I can put in 1,000 different passwords in a second.
Yeah.
To try to break into your bank account.
And our habits of making passwords, right? we make passwords things that we are familiar with, and scammer can use all those familiar combinations and just a few hundred, few million combinations of it in a few seconds, and they can so I think the biggest pivot right now in what I'm thinking actually right at this moment would be in the security. Security is going to be if you're in hardware and software and AI and talk about you had actual guards. Now you're going to have people who are basically coming out and somebody creates this video. Oh yeah, here's another just popped up. Somebody creates a video with AI. What if there's a little watermark or whatever comes out? This is created by AI.
But again, that's assuming that whoever is the builder puts that on it.
No,
if I can
not
build
the builder. I'm not the builder. The application.
Well, I'm just saying. Call it Chat GPT. They have that, sure. But then if I make my own in another 3 or 4 years with ASI, I can make my own program and get around that, right?
But you can. But here's the thing: you're the individual that making that program, and if you share it on the internet, you're not able to unless you get some kind of certification or something.
But then who says what's real and not?
Exactly. So
it's the same thing that you see on Twitter now.
Yeah, it's something we have to.
Or X.
And this video kind of alluded to it. Like, this isn't that good yet. Like,
no,
it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But they're I'm just going to get better.
I remember in 8 years ago, I was showing videos when I was living in Germany to friends there of something like that, but with Barack Obama talking. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was pretty good, but you could definitely tell. But I kept explaining to them, okay, in another 5, 6, 7 years, this is going to be. Oh wow, that's crazy! And there's going to be your misinformation. You could have a video of someone right now of Trump saying, "Hey, we're going to go invade Russia in support of Ukraine, or go to Israel, or all these
not
different
just
conflicts
that.
around the world."
Somebody says, "Hey, you see a red colored truck, and those are this and that. They're evil, whatever."
Yeah.
And
for sure.
And go out there and stop every red colored truck, and till that whole scam or fake news or whatever information.
Look what happens, how the stock market can be affected in a matter of seconds because of a tweet on X.
So that's what I'm saying. There need to be some kind of marking, some kind of telltale
built into it,
which can
I guess I'm just sitting there thinking, how do you get around it? How do you get around it? Because
that's always going to be the key. How am I going to get around it? And somebody will, then maybe counter.
Or you can go opposite, right?
I mean,
if it's a real video, if it's a real thing, they have the marking. The other one did. If this is AI, they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Or you start marking the real ones or marking the fake ones. So either or.
Well, even now, I just go think about even like the world we're in now, even on LinkedIn, right? You get a lot of these posts now. You can tell who's writing with AI and who's not.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see now the people that are writing organically aren't getting the likes or the views or the impressions or comments, whereas some of the stuff I can tell is clearly written on AI that's 4 pages long gets 1,000 likes or comments on it. And you're going, well, I know for a fact that guy didn't write that.
Yeah.
But that's what is now getting
the world
the views
we live in.
Right? So you're seeing that now even.
Yeah.
Where's the original real human content even is now starting to get filtered to the bottom.
Yeah.
So I swear maybe it was COVID that kind of started it, as in, Zoom wasn't really that big of a thing, Teams meetings, that type of deal. It wasn't really that popular.
And the Zoom got popular in COVID.
They used the WebEx a lot. A lot
of
companies use WebEx,
but
where they would have
wasn't
an
showing
actual
video.
camera
Cisco system,
on the TV.
Nobody really used the camera either.
But
before COVID. Then when COVID hit, then that became a norm.
Yeah,
like Zoom just blew up because
they got smart and they provided that service free to schools, and that's where they just blew up.
Or I was gonna say Skype. I had Skype
Skype.
But that just shut down last month, I think.
Oh, it did?
Yeah. Who bought them?
I thought it was Microsoft.
Microsoft, and then so they moved. Yeah, that's what it is. And then Microsoft
And
moved
then they would
everything to
just put it on the
Teams.
shelf.
But they bought it for billions of dollars, and then within
just put it on the
3
shelf.
years, well, because
It
they have
wasn't-
Teams.
Well, it wasn't. Well, it didn't really mesh with their software, and they want one big platform.
Don't get me going on Teams, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another
me
story.
too. Yeah.
But it's one of those too where it just like we keep on talking about, and I think from one of our past episodes is these silos of different companies right now. In the next 5 or 10 years, I see a lot of consolidations, and then you're going to see 2 or 3 big players that are in that space with a bunch of smaller ones. Whereas now everyone's sort of fighting and jockeying for those positions.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of those people and companies kind of take head, and then we'll be able to see, can we control and put some controls on some of these things
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
that we think
there's gotta
need
be.
it.
I mean, it's not gonna be 100% proof. There's be that 80-20. I like to use that quite a bit.
Yep.
If we can filter 80% of it, 20% gonna be we just gotta have that common sense to basically
As long
find
as
that.
80% is used for good, hopefully it'll stop the 20% that are trying to use it for bad, right?
Well, that too, and even we just gotta have common sense to figure out if it is real or not for that 20%. But right now, I think it's there is no number. We don't even know.
Yeah. Well, actually, the next topic with actually is similar to what you guys are alluding to. So, at a Burger King, we got now the AI clerk.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it?
No, I went. Yeah. Let's watch.
Let's watch this. This is pretty neat.
Yeah, hi, I'm ready.
What can I get you?
Are you AI?
I'm Hungry Jack's virtual helper. How can I help you?
That's so cool. Okay, yeah, hi, can I get a large ultimate double Whopper meal?
Did you want double Whopper?
Yes, a large ultimate double Whopper.
Sure. Is that with Coke?
Oh, God, no. Can I please get an orange juice with no ice?
Okay.
Can I also get a barbecue cheeseburger?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Your total is $23.50. Please drive through.
God, that's so scary.
So it's funny because I swear a few years ago I was at I won't say which chain, I don't want to admit to it, and I'm pretty sure they had one of these, and then it was very similar to the voice of the person that was there, but I went a couple times and I told my wife, something's not right, and I wonder if they were kind of programming some of the stuff then.
So,
because this is a simple function, right?
So initially, I went to again a couple of this ones like actually this fast food places, and so initially, I think during COVID or maybe a little before that, they started using these call centers to take your order through drive-through.
Yeah.
So
You talking about that
they're
New York thing? Or
Huh?
no, you talking about like in New York when they were doing that?
No, they were doing it here.
Okay, yeah, that's
Same,
what I meant.
like
Oh,
during
here
COVID.
in U.S. or Michigan, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a call center, and you can tell how crisp and everything voice was, and it was a call center. But now I actually experienced this AI. I was south, and it was what was that? In and Out, I think. Yeah, one of those. And I went to the screen, and obviously it was first time for me, and I recognized it right away. I was like, oh, this is AI, But everybody in the line behind me, and I was kind of noticing their behavior. I'm like, what they think,
How will they react to it?
how they react. It was normal for them because they're regulars there.
Yeah.
As long as they can take your order and
Yeah,
understand
and-
it, right?
Yeah, and it was like there was no wait. There was no. That was the other thing. There's no wait. There was no miscommunication. The order was, and the total was there, and I changed my order. It changed the order too, and so yeah. I mean,
Was that better than the touch screens, right? So normally when you go in now you just do the touch screens on a lot of them. They won't even come to your, the clerk or somebody won't even show up. You just go to the touch screen, you order everything.
So yes, so another this place in Kalamazoo, is fast food, and yeah, there's nobody at the counter
To take your order, yeah.
There's four touch screens, and then they had this pop dispenser. You basically show your receipt under a scanner, and you can pop. You pick your receipt up, and the machine stops.
Yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, guys, would you consider like that real progress?
That technology has been around for a while.
Well, I mean,
okay. So it's not adoption is. I don't think is the progress. The progress is people accepting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like implementation of that is could be done like they could have used the call center whenever, but I think is the people taking that as their normal behavior.
10 years ago, you'd be definitely like, oh wow,
because the whole this basically is another just human nature, like where we used to go to stores and places to shop and interact to restaurants, and the server or the person who's attending us knew our name, knew what we ordered, things like that.
He went to high school with them, or
that's the thing, and that's that kind of went away when we put the masks on.
Yep.
And once that happened, after that, this is the pivot.
Yeah. Well, here's kind of a usually devil's advocate. Good question. These type of jobs like Burger King, McDonald's, etc., Little Caesars, was always considered like entry level jobs. For somebody in high school, you're just trying to get your feet wet in the workforce. This is what you did. Now with AI kind of taking over some of that, and obviously what we just saw is kind of the entry point of it. And who knows how much of this will be automated.
There's robots flipping burgers already.
Yeah.
But I still think this is almost a skilled trade still, because until they can, because even making fries and a hamburger, I still think we're a little further out maybe. Whereas you're going, okay, that's still an industry, that's a service industry that's in need.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Yes, these things can work in a controlled environment. Automation can work in a controlled environment where they're inside, they're doing the same thing again and again. Now you go to a 5-star restaurant or even a little more custom restaurant where the items are not same, and
your menus, 50 different things.
Yeah, and I think so. What we're gonna happen is if these places, they go to those basically automated things, and I think the eating at the other restaurants gonna become a luxury.
Yeah. Well. So I got a question for you guys. Kind of just came to me. So now let's say, okay, you automate this, right? This process. You're automating the clerk. You're going to automate the food. That should be a huge saving for the company. So now we're talking about economy. So would that including, there's kind of a two-part question. Would that end up being like cheaper food? And at the same time, would they start losing some of the brand loyalty and the experience?
So we earlier we talked about energy, right? So again, this is just my opinion, and what I'm thinking is probably gonna happen is the food cost probably not gonna go down, or what we're paying is not gonna go down, because the energy to produce all that is gonna go up.
Yeah. I mean,
But it shouldn't go up as much as
but the combination of it.
Yeah.
So the food that's being generated from the farm all the way before even the seed is planted, from all the way there to when it gets on your plate, the entire system, because now all this AI and everything is sucking that energy. That energy cost probably gonna go up, and we're still gonna be paying whatever same.
Yeah, I mean, and your cost of installation, even if you're doing some smaller cobots or automation assembly equipment and in fast
and
food,
the build of
even.
those things,
Yeah.
all those costs. So if you consider all those,
But 2 or 3 years down the road, though, some of those that overhead cost, that initial capital cost, is going to be gone.
Then
But you're still going to have maintenance and service calls, and you're still going to have a few people. I think even as much as you automate, I don't know how you can do it. That's why I'm saying it's almost like a skilled trade.
Yeah.
And we kind of look at it down now, but again, garbage collection. You have all these other things that.
Now here's the other thing.
Could be
other side of it. Somebody got to maintain that robot. Now your skill set went up.
Right.
You have to change a few things on that, or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, but you're taking away some of the labor. And, something that I saw the other day, and I found this interesting, is that, fast food, like in the 1990s, like a typical, meal, I think it was around $3.50. That sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like $10.50.
10 to 15.
If that's
15.
it, I'd be shocked. I mean,
like
my jaw hit the floor one time. We went to a fast food place, and I got something. It was after COVID. Holy cow! I had no idea this costs this much now.
So I compared. So I picked up a groceries. We had a power outage, and we picked up a grocery. And what I spent on grocery that probably last us, let's say, a week, at least that part of it. I spent same amount or more on a one-night dinner that I picked up.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, the price has already went up quite a bit.
And they ain't coming down, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not. And alluding to that, now we got
farming.
Next topic. Apple harvesting robots. Look at that.
Yeah, I see that. That's pretty wild.
Things going around picking out apples.
and I guess I'm just always thinking, jobs, and maybe this is could be a game changer. I mean, look at the efficiency, look at the speed.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, and at night.
But what I hear is, we're gonna go back to that, is energy, and so this has
definitely been an energy focused episode.
Oh yeah, it is
for sure.
It is everything, and I think we've been talking about that for a while, like kind of in the background.
Just not even realizing it. Yeah,
we've been talking about it because, I see energy, but here's the other.
I mean, you can hear the generator, because you figure these robots need power, so you're running it on a generator, because there's no way you can run a power line through.
No. They're running on generators.
Half-mile
They're running
line.
on diesel generator.
Yeah, right. No, seriously, that's probably what it is.
Oh, it is. I can tell by the sound.
On the back side of it,
guy. I can tell by the sound it's a diesel generator.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is. One thing I see a plus point to this, one of the things is there will be less wastage in the field of food.
It would be more efficient, right?
It'd be more efficient. But how does that translate to our farmers just going to grow less because it's more efficient?
Well, if there's less population, they don't have to grow as much.
Well, the catch is, too, if you look at the video, you got to plant it a certain way because the wheels are only so wide, and you want to make sure it goes down the path.
So I think this is more somebody generated it for test purposes.
But apple trees like that are already planted in certain size rows.
Yeah, but you got to have a certain distance from each other so it can reach.
Yep.
Because if you're trying to grab it from both sides, so there's strategic planning here, is what I'm alluding to.
And they have done that. I think the farmers had pivoted a few times before the tractors, they were, doing certain things manually, and so the plants were closer or further, or, either or. They pivoted a few times. I don't think that would be an issue, but the only thing I say is, yes, this is good, but on the other hand, it is, there's energy issue is there. We started with that, and that's kind of like the basically the lingering the whole through the whole episode. But everything gonna translate to energy. So a more efficient way we are able to do that, and I think farming, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it with our robotics.
So would you consider this a solution for labor shortage?
It's a labor shortage and more efficient way to harvest. That way, there's a less wastage of, and that is a part of energy too. It took so much energy to grow that plant.
Well, and then water consumption, right?
And everything. So it took so much energy, and so so you know how we have the carbon credit. So I think pretty soon there's going to be energy credit. How much you're saving energy and how much you're taking. So I think that those systems, they need to go into place. That way we're I'd say we're more inclined to, because our humans, we like rewards, we like points. We sign up everywhere to get points. So I think if we have a little point system on energy, I think that would help too. Maybe consume, like, energy companies, what they can do is they can, hey, you save up go less on this much, we'll give you a coupon for buying apples. I don't know, something in that sort. It's if they start promoting that culture, I think it'd be one way to,
Yeah. Well, something that kind of came to me, we're watching this. It's in the farming. We're watching the Burger King. We're seeing, they talk about AGI, then the ASI, all this. Are we getting to a point where this is a sign of over-engineering nature?
Ooh.
Are we getting to that point? Like, if I feel like we're, the more we progress, the more engineers coming in about, and is there a point that we should stop?
So, okay, here's the analogy on that. When a young kid who was really, because they all always want to be a superhero, right? And you buy
he took all the drugs so he could become a superhero?
Well, no, you give us kid a cape, right? You give them, and they feel like superhero.
Yeah.
Now they got the cape, they want to wear that everywhere. I think that's what's happening with the robotics.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, everyone's trying to see what part of, and again, a lot of the stuff's just machine learning. I think I've talked about that several times. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is that companies will throw the term AI on it when it's really just machine learning.
I had a question
some
on
basic stuff.
Like, what is
but
AI?
Is some of this stuff? Is there anything really new about that?
Well, honestly, that's
just
going to be
application.
that's going to be my next point. Is that the technology has always been there. It just has been applied in this area.
It's adaptation.
And if you look at that, right, it's just simple vision cameras, some cobots, a diesel-powered engine on a track.
That thing is not, like out of the space. But only thing is, it's just the adoption. How, maybe 10, 20 years ago.
In the farm industry, no way.
Farming's like, I get 50 people waiting here to do this. I don't want to deal with a robot. I don't know what robots do, this and that. And, they don't want to deal with it. Now, because the whole COVID era kind of shifted everything when, the labor shortage and
essential
everything.
workers and
labor shortages and everything.
So everything shifted.
And
after that, everybody's looking that they don't want to get into that situation again. There were like, fields which they didn't get harvested and because the movement of people was restricted and everything else.
I think you're gonna see a lot more companies and industries looking into different opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, can we do this? And again, always one of my biggest complaints is with the humanoid robots is, oh, look at all these cool applications, but we're at 3 times speed or 4 times speed in the video. They're just moving a simple bin, or it's simple applications. You know, until we can actually use this for what I would consider a solid use case, we're probably way over engineered and, you know, in these industries.
Well, and another thing too is that, you know, how should I put this? Everybody like using the word, you know, spin words. Like you said, AI, it's just actually machine learning. Another spin word to me is collaborative robots. It's a robot that's always been used. It's just, and the catch is, with collaborative, you only can move at a certain speed.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, you know, they watch a video, oh, this is so cool, but they sped up the video so make it look faster, but it actually doesn't move that fast.
Yeah. Well, and similar here, right? I'm assuming that looks and sounded like that was at real speed, so that's pretty fast. But now if I've got 5 people out there in the field doing that, what's the speed comparison? Where's the cross of, oh, yeah, this is way more efficient and beneficial and energy efficient?
Well, to me, the biggest, how should I put this? With collaborative robots, that type of deal, that can handle the jobs by themselves, so like this application. The benefit of using it is when you can't get the person to do the job at that hour. So second shift, third shift, usually that's more difficult to find. And this is obviously middle of the night.
Yeah. To your point, harvesting is very time sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Strawberries or any of these, like, you know, fruits, all these perishables.
Yeah, there's like a 2-week window for strawberries.
Yeah, there's like, you know, I mean, they're really time sensitive.
I used to pick them when I was a kid.
And farmers need those hands in the fields in that time. Every farmer. Yes, this will offset some of it. Not every farmer gonna do this, but this will offset. So I'm for this. And there's, I mean, on the other hand, that, you know, like, you know, robotic fast food. I mean, we had vending machines, right? So it's kind of similar concept. We just getting, there's a, when you go to Canada, there's a, like the border, our duty-free shop on the U.S. side, they have a robotic, like a vending machine for a pizza. Makes you a fresh pizza, right? So it's just like, you know, those things are there. Some people who may go for that, people who like real good Italian pizza may not go for that. So it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's just the choices we make. That's what's going to dictate.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, guys, we're gonna move on to our next topic. So, recruiter reviewing social media. So, in this video, this is a little bit different, but obviously using AI. Well, I'll just let him explain.
If you're 8 years old right now, if you're 5, if you're about to go to high school, if you're in high school, if you're in college or trying to get out of college, watch what you say. Parents, if your kids, if you give them a lot of screen time and they can comment on whatever and do whatever and you don't have any kind of lock on there, watch what they say, because that can haunt them. And no video is truly taken off the internet, by the way. I found so many videos that were like deleted, but I found them again. They're never truly deleted.
Just gonna
so if you're trying to work in the corporate world or just be a normal person, don't be racist. Don't be stupid, because I will find it and then I will air it out on the corporate AI software page. I can't air it out on here, unfortunately, because I'll get sued and I'll lose my HIPAA and stuff like that. But stop being stupid, please. I'm begging you. I've turned down over 50 applications in 4 weeks. So that's why you're not getting hired.
Yeah.
So
this is great.
All the more reason to stay off of social media.
So okay, let me give you another bit. Not just your companies, like, you know, the people who are gonna hire you. Your insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
Before they renew you,
Sure.
they look at your business, social media, where you've been posting, what you did, and what did they insure, and what did you present.
Yeah.
They are looking. So before you post anything about your business, or well, I recommend not do anything that is not, recommended for
Yeah, that's
starters.
what
But if
we
you
never ever post anything, even holidays. We don't post any of that stuff. Never, ever, ever. It's just apolitical.
Yeah, no,
just-
like we post, we post our regular holidays and whatnot, but no, their insurance companies are looking for, are you staying in the area that you're saying you're gonna work in?
Yeah.
So if you checked in somewhere outside your area, it happened to me. I was supposedly insured for business in Michigan, to do that in Michigan, and I was in Indiana, like from here to that wall, that border Indiana. I was in Indiana. I didn't know. We did our event there, and as I came back, and next day I got a call from my insurance company. They're like, "Hey, your annual renewal was in the process, and
So you were in Indiana.
you're like, how often do you travel out of state?" I'm like, "We don't." In that business, I'm like, "We don't." And they're like, "Well, the event you did, blah blah blah, it was in Indiana."
Wow.
So what do you post? It is a social media, social. So that means whatever you say in public is all
Whatever you say and do can and will be used against you.
in
Yeah.
every way it could.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, this is getting nuts.
Well, like I mentioned, I would love to know what quote unquote software
I don't know
they're
how
using.
So, good question for you guys. Should this be like a vetting process, part of getting hired, or checking somebody out? Like how far should it go?
I mean, every private company has.
Well, I know every company does it, but like that kid said there, like this girl did a posting.
Yeah,
or,
whatever.
Whether
you agree with it or not, I mean, if it's a private
just gonna
company,
happen.
they're going to do it, and they're going to want to hire their quote
That's
unquote
gonna
people.
happen.
And
But here's the thing. Issue I see with this is this gentleman, what he's saying, is how legit that is, because some of it may be challenged under First Amendment, but if somebody is actually gonna pursue that, but person may not even
you're
know.
not even going to know.
But that's the thing. Person
You'd
may
never
never
know.
gonna
They just-
know if they got rejected because of that.
And nowadays, with resumes and stuff, people don't even call you back to let you
Yeah.
know. They don't even let you know, oh, we looked at your resume. They don't, because then they don't have to be held, liable if something were to happen. They say, oh, we didn't even know you were accepted. Because you never knew. We didn't even look at your resume. We had 100 of them, and we only called back one guy or two people, right?
Yeah.
You would never even know you were on the list.
I don't know. I find this interesting because I feel like because of AI, you can search much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess these bias, I mean, maybe at one point the biases weren't that bad. Like, I think of that, if you remember that show, How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah,
so
I know of it.
Marshall,
Yeah,
Marshall was like, on the show, Marshall was trying to get this new job as a lawyer. And he went streaking sometime in college. And they found the video on YouTube or whatever.
Oh, that's funny.
And so he was trying to get the guy to take it down, one of his buddies from college, and so he took it down. But the law firm found the video
Before he took it down. Yeah.
yeah, and they were kind of the manager, the owner was making fun of him a little bit, like, hey, we're going to hire you, but come in with clothes, beer Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. Is everybody taking it way more serious?
Well, and even like he mentioned with the kids, right? And that's the big one with kids. You may not know. I mean, luckily this stuff wasn't around when we were kids. Who knows what would have been caught or said that I would have done back then, or either of you two, right? So I mean, you have to explain to your children, even and show them that this kind of stuff is
I
happening.
don't talk about past.
Yeah. but that's what I'm saying. This kind of
Past
stuff
life.
is happening and can affect your, going to universities, going to college admissions, going to your jobs.
Well, that's what I
right?
mean. They're kind of like holding this little piece of your life.
Yeah. I don't know how.
Yeah, and whether you
it's-
agree with it or not,
Yeah,
they can do it, I guess.
I guess.
There's
I don't know.
clearly are doing it. Companies are doing it.
Yeah,
And whether
but-
you line up with their quote unquote values or not, and they could filter a lot of people that way.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just want to know the software.
I kind of
they're
like.
using.
I really don't know where I would stand. I mean, one side I see as a First Amendment issue, but the second side I see it is where, you're suppressing people, but the third side is like the person who's being suppressed don't even know they're being suppressed.
Yep.
So how do you do what you do, or don't put your personal thoughts and so on in writing or in picture? Yeah, or video? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's
I really don't know.
I feel like I don't know. I understand why this is there. I understand why people look at it.
And the scary part is, just like we're talking about with AI, especially as kids now are doing the cyberbullying stuff, they could make a fake video about you and put it online. They could do a fake post that you said or did and put that online, and now you can't get a job. Now you can't go to the university.
And you don't even know about it.
And again, some of this stuff is sexual. Some of this stuff is explicit, vulgar things.
Yeah,
And
only thing I can think of is tell your kids don't have social media.
Yeah, but
how realistic that is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
then
just-
what the catch is too, then I'm probably going to get too deep in this, but then the catch is like, oh, you don't have a social media, so why?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
That's you're right. You're right.
Or now they're gonna get bullied
Are you
'cause they
like a
don't have it.
loner, or what's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like you do or you don't. You're damned either way.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. This is
You really got to walk the line, and I mean, it is a scary thought.
yeah, it is. It is. I don't know. I feel like this shouldn't be your last straw. That's kind of.
No, I think it just kind of went way.
Yeah, it's went to the extreme.
I think it's too extreme.
Yeah.
Especially
So-
some 13-year-old made a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of
You know,
course.
Just-
that's yeah.
they're kids.
What environment? What 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 stage in their life they were. It's not. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, last topic here. This is a very neat one. AI helping knee AI mobility. So.
Mogo offers a unique blend of fashion and function in human augmentation. While primarily designed for hiking, its potential applications extend beyond the trail.
Yeah, that's cool.
From aiding elderly individuals with limited mobility to assisting people with physical challenges, the technology holds immense promise. By blending style, comfort, and advanced technology, these pants represent a significant advancement in outdoor exoskeleton.
And you figure someone who has knee surgery or
No,
damage or
just over time, they've been doing same basically activity.
Design. Despite numerous advantages, it would be great if they didn't carry an exorbitant price tag of $5,000. Interested in giving them a try?
I mean, that's a really cool technology. You figure elderly as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Only thing I'm thinking is, what if this thing goes like the robot that we seen?
Oh, and you start kicking.
You just start kicking. All
Or
of a sudden, your legs
start
are
running.
cold.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not that powerful, but just still.
Oh, this is a very.
You have sleepless leg syndrome.
That's what it's like. You forgot to take your pants off.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this kind of technology is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
for
Anything
people
that
need
assist,
help.
Yeah, that assist. It is great.
Recovery, right?
Yes.
Therapy.
And
You could have it on your arm, leg. You could have different uses for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is things like this is definitely whichever helps people. So kind of like what we had last time we talked about that hand.
Yeah.
Those things. Yeah. Go for it. But other side, the thing is, if you don't talk about the dark side, it's not gonna go away. So we need to talk, and we need to bring those conversations up as well. So things like this, where we promote and we say that's good. The other side, where the video and scammers and all that, all those conversations that need to have. Though that doesn't mean it's all gloom and doom, but it's just that if you don't have those conversations, we're like becoming that pigeon and closing the eyes and pretending the cat's not there, Yeah. So we can't live that way.
Yeah.
Well, obviously this is very good. It's very positive. It helps out a lot of people, especially with, they showed like an elderly couple there walking up a hill, and they probably wouldn't be able to gain that experience because the walking they need to do because their knees won't be able to handle
and it actually probably make them actually help them get better, in my sense, as a therapy, right?
Yeah.
So as a therapy, so I think no,
kind of like the Nintendo Wii.
Well, yeah, that broke a lot of TVs
and relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
But it helps them get the exercise. Helps people with that's kind of one thing. How should I put this? Somebody who might be paralyzed or can barely move.
Yeah,
instead of them gaining weight, they can actually just get some exercise.
Yeah, or, maybe certain people who, like service or military or some job, where their their motion at that time, constant motion for like 10, 20 years, the same motion, and they, just like our machines, that body parts wear out, and
joint replacements.
Joint replacement they had
things like
to
that.
do,
That's
and
all I keep thinking of would be super helpful.
So this will and therapy. So a good example of one of my family members. They had, they were recommended to go for a surgery for their shoulder in some other country, and but then other doctor recommended to do a therapy, and through a therapy, they're good. They didn't have to do a surgery.
Perfect.
So this is good.
Nice. And out of curiosity, and going to play a little bit devil's advocate here, obviously it's probably a small company. They're coming up. Do you see like a bigger company, somebody in the hospital industry, I'm assuming, would, hey, we'll buy you out.
Oh,
and then
sure.
And then all of a sudden,
just shelf it.
Yeah.
Oh, that happens probably
That
all
happens.
the time. I mean,
So-
we just talked about it, right, with Skype.
Yeah, that happened, and there was another company on the Shark Tank. They were talking about this gentleman invented something. It was for like I don't know what he was curing. But he had basically had one of the devices, and it was a simple device. And one of the Shark Tank whatever the investors, they asked him like, hey, did you propose this to big pharma and everybody? He's like, I did. And one of the pharmas basically they said, well, this is kind of like if we have buy it, we have to shelf it because
Goes
you're
against
selling
what
it
they
for
do.
$10, so we selling the other alternative solution for $200.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. This isn't helping our aging population. That's going to
No, true. But this is, where, those companies decide they want to make money and yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. Well, that was our last topic.
Good. Well, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to give us a like, comment, share. Don't forget to subscribe, and hope that you join us here next time on The Next Move. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.